Welcome to today's lesson. I am your presenter, Mrs. Emerentia Botha. Today, we will look at stereotypes. Do you believe everything that you hear? Let me show you a short story. A new boy joins a school. Before anyone meets him, rumors spread that he is bad at English because he is from another province. When he finally speaks in class, he impresses everyone with his vocabulary and ideas. Now, what do we see here? We see before anyone meets him, there's rumors spreading. So no one knows him yet. All they hear is that he's bad at English and that he's from another province. That is why he's bad at English. So everyone believes it because those are the rumors. This is called a stereotype. We judge someone before we even know them. And then when he finally speaks in class, he impresses everyone with his vocabulary and ideas. Why? Because they thought he was bad at English. So why did people think that about him before they even met him? Well, it is because of the rumors, and they believed it. And we call that stereotyping. So that is how stereotyping works. Now today we'll explore what stereotypes are, where they come from, how they appear in texts and media, and why it is important to challenge them. We must not just accept stereotypes, we mustn't just listen to rumors, we must challenge the idea and we must challenge stereotypes. Let's look at the definition of stereotypes. First, look at this picture. For women, for men. What this visual actually shows us is that women stay at home and look after the children, whereas men go out and earn the money. Now think to yourself, is this true? Maybe it was true years and years ago, but in today's life, it is not like that anymore. Because now we also have men who stay at home, clean and look after the children, and we have women going out to earn the money. Or we also have men and women from the same household going out to earn money. So this is why this picture is a stereotype. What it does is it puts a certain group of people in a certain box. A stereotype is a fixed, oversimplified idea about a group of people. It assumes that everyone in that group is the same. So that is what we call a stereotype. Let us look at a few examples. If we say the following, all teenagers are lazy. Now you have to think, is that necessarily true? And then you can think, well, you're a teenager and sometimes you're lazy, but you're not always lazy. Or you can think, well, you're a teenager and you are not lazy at all. Yes, some teenagers are lazy, but so are other people, like older people are also lazy sometimes. Younger children are lazy sometimes. So it's not only teenagers, and it is not all teenagers that are lazy. So that is then why this will be a stereotype. Another example, boys don't cry. This is quite a silly stereotype because boys do cry, girls cry, men cry, women cry, so people cry. So if we say boys don't cry, that is a stereotype. If we say girls are bad at sports, it's a stereotype. Why? Because many girls are very good at sports. And if we say only boys, we imply, if we say girls are bad at sports, we imply that only boys are good at sports, which is also not true. It's a stereotype. We all have different talents. So this is why we know that if we say this sentence, we put girls in a certain group, which is not true, and that is a stereotype. Rich people are selfish. All rich people? No, it is not true. It is a stereotype. Now, each of these examples puts people into boxes instead of seeing them as individuals. Stereotypes can seem harmless because sometimes we joke about them, but they create unfair expectations and negative attitudes. So this is why we must challenge stereotypes. Now, why do stereotypes exist? Well, there's a few reasons. I just looked at 3 here. So one of the reasons, the media often repeats the same images. For example, heroes are strong men and women are helpers. So a lot of time that gets repeated into the media and that will create stereotypes. Another example, culture and history sometimes pass down old ideas that are no longer true. If you remember, we looked at that other picture where many years ago it was true that women stayed at home and the men earned the money, and that was the only way it was done. But that was in the past. These days it's different. But because of that idea, stereotypes exist. Another point why stereotypes exist, people form stereotypes when they don't know others personally. So just because you don't know someone, then sometimes we judge them. If we look at this picture, we see a man with a blue background. He's wearing a suit. There's whey protein behind him. And we see a woman with pink background, and there's a washing machine behind her. Now, this is an example of stereotyping. First off, what we see, men like blue, women like pink. It's a stereotype because many men like pink and many women like blue. Then the man in this picture, he is wearing a suit and he has whey protein behind him, meaning he's going to the gym and he's working, he's earning the money. The woman is at home and she's doing the washing. Stereotyping. Now, how stereotypes appear in texts. Let's look at that. In a story, if a poor person is always shown as untrustworthy, that is an example of a stereotype. If we look at cartoons, if the scientist is always drawn as an old man and he's wearing glasses and he has crazy hair, they draw all the scientists like that, and that is an example of a stereotype. If we look at advertisements, if women always clean and men always drive cars, then that is an example of a stereotype. Meaning, they show that that's all they do. The women only the women clean and only the men drive cars. So it is a stereotype. Now, when reading or watching, ask yourself, is this how all people are? Or is this an unfair generalization? So remember, when we generalize, it can be unfair. It means we do not see people as individuals. let's look at more examples. In movies, villains often have a certain accent or appearance, so the way they sound or the way that they look. And what does this do? This teaches the viewers, the people who's watching, it teaches them to associate those traits with bad people. So the villains always sound a certain way and they always look a certain way. And then as the viewers, we start to associate those traits with bad people. Women cleaning and cooking, that's all they do. That's stereotyping. Men working in offices or driving cars, stereotyping. Teens always on their phones. Well, now your parents might say, yes, but that is definitely true. But maybe your parents are also on their phones all the time. So do you see that this is definitely a stereotype? Again, we can say, well, people are always on their phones, but it's not everyone. Because there are some people who's not on their phones, or there are teenagers who is not on their phones all of the time. So recognizing these patterns helps learners understand how language and images influence attitudes. So if you look at these patterns that we've discussed, then you will understand how language and images, so the pictures that you see, how that will influence your attitude towards someone else or towards a specific group of people. Now, what is the link to life? Recognizing stereotypes helps you to become socially aware and a critical thinker, meaning that when you look at the world, you are aware of stereotypes and you are aware that they are not necessarily true, because a stereotype leaves no room for an individual. And then you become a critical thinker because you are thinking how to break down the stereotype. If you think, okay, but this is the stereotype and it is not true, because it does not only apply to that specific group of people. Now, stereotypes are oversimplified ideas about people. They can cause harm or misunderstanding. They appear in language, literature, and media. We should identify and challenge stereotypes. So now when you read a text, identify the stereotypes in the text. Remember, don't judge a book by its cover or a person by a stereotype. It's very important. We should never judge other people because of a stereotype. As readers, writers, and thinkers, our job is to see beyond generalizations and value individuality. Because remember, when you read, you need to think critically about something, the same way when you write. And, well, we are all thinkers. So the way we think will change the way we see the world and the way we see people. Thank you very much for joining me today. I hope you enjoy the rest of the lessons and may you have a wonderful day further.